Step in the ring, no fear, all bite, hands up high. We train for this fight, bell gon' ring, it's war on sight. This is boxing life, this is fight night. Sweat on the floor, we grind, we climb. Every bruise on the body means we're on our time.
Red Corner Boxing. We're in the game.
Yes, good evening, Prediction Leaguers. It's Mr. Neutral, your host here for the X League. Prediction League here on Red Corner Boxing. This show is sponsored by EasyStorage.com and BoxingFightzone.com for all your storage and boxing merchandise needs. All the links are in the bio. Please check them out. Right, we must have a look at Fight Week 10 last week and see how the boy scored. Well, keeps himself at the top of the table with 108 and 1256 points in his grand. Spit Bucket Podcast, 103, 5 points behind. 1240 slips, 16 points behind. Sweet Pugilism, 93 points. He slips down to 1199, but still only 57 points behind the leader. Jabby Boxing, good week for him. Sticks in within striking distance of Sweet Pugilism. Max Calandrello, he can do better. 1183, but not far behind Jab. Lee Mack closes the gap. 10 points behind Max Calandrillo. Graham Walker, 121 points. Hit top scorer last week. Closes the gap on Lee Mack as well. C. Miller, decent score, 807. Late starter, but I'm sure next season he'll be a major player. But tonight, C. Miller is missing from his predictions. We will get them first thing in the morning by then, hopefully. But let's get to the first prediction of this week. Fight week... as I said, it's Fight Week 11, and the first fight we have for you, if I can find it, is Thursday night in Montreal, Casino in Montreal. It's Ozzy Iglesias versus Pavel Silyagin for the IBO and IBF World Super Middleweight titles. Iglesias from Cuba is 14-0-0, facing a 12-rounder against Pavel Silyagin from Russia, who now resides in Canada, 16-0-1. Southpaw versus Orthodox, and we go to our first prediction. And I can tell you, says knockout round 9, Iglesias. Spit Bucket says knockout round 5, Iglesias. Sweet Pugilism says knockout round 11 for Iglesias. Jabby Boxing, similarly, knockout round 4 this time for Iglesias. And Max Calandrillo sees it go in the distance, unanimous decision for Iglesias. Lee Mack says knockout round 2, no messing, Iglesias. And Graham Walker, last week's winner, says knockout round 4 for Iglesias. Moving on to the next fight on the undercard on Thursday night in Montreal. Arthur B. Arslanov versus Jimmer Espinoza, Canada versus Mexico. Super lightweight affair over 10 rounds for the North American Boxing Federation super lightweight title. 20-0-0 B. Arslanov, 17-2-1 Espinoza. It's a real pick-em fight. Let's go to the league leader. Says unanimous decision B. Arslanov. We can see Spit Bucket Podcast says knockout round 7 B. Arslanov. That could close the gap on the leader. Sweet Pugilism says unanimous decision for the Russian, as does Jabby Boxing, as does Max Calandrello. Unanimous decision B. Arslanov. Lee Mack says knockout round 6 for B. Arslanov, and Graham Walker says knockout round 5. Moving on to the next fight. On the same undercard, it's Luis Santana, Jan Thompson, all Canadian affair. And 15-0-0 Santana, 18-1-0 Thompson. Orthodox versus Orthodox. Not a lot in it between these two. And I can tell you that says UD Santana. Spit Bucket says knockout round 6 Santana. We got Sweet Pugilism says unanimous decision Santana, as does Jabby Boxing, as does Max Calandrillo. Lee Mack says knockout round 6 for Santana. And Graham Walker says knockout round 5 for Thompson, the only guy to do so. We're going to move on to the next fight. This is in Japan, Tokyo, Saturday morning. Tenshin Nazukawa versus Juan Francisco Estrada. Bantamweight affair over 12 rounds. 7-1-0 Tenshin versus 45-4-0 Estrada. Highly experienced. I can tell you now, says unanimous decision for Estrada. Spit Bucket, split decision for Nazukawa. Now that will separate the two leaders. Unanimous decision for Nazukawa, says Sweet Pugilism. Knockout round 10 for Jabit, Nazukawa. Max Calandrillo says knockout round 10 for Estrada. It's an up and down fight. Lee Mack says unanimous decision for Tenson. And as does Graham Walker. Unanimous decision. Tenson, Nazukawa. Moving on to the next fight. It's poles apart in experience. 3-0 Zuboy, 43-5-2. Pedro Guevara. He's only 36, up against 30-year-old Japanese sensation Zuboy. What do the boys say? Unanimous decision, Zuboy, says Was. Guevara UD, says Spit Bucket. Again, differentiation. Sweet Pugilism says unanimous decision for Zuboy, as does Jabit Boxing. Knockout round 8, says Max Calandrillo for Zuboy. Knockout round 3 for the Japanese boxer, as does Graham Walker. So Lee Mack and Graham Walker both say knockout round 3, Zuboy. Moving on to the next fight. On the same undercard, Kyosuke Takami versus Angel Ayala La Desizabal. Japan versus Mexico, flyweight affair over 10 rounds. 10-1-0 Takami versus 18-1-0 La Desizabal. Try saying that quickly. Let's go to Was. He says split decision Takami. Spit Bucket says knockout round 8 Takami. Sweet Pugilism says unanimous decision Takami, as does Jabit Boxing, as does Max Calandrillo. Lee Mack says knockout round 5 for Takami. And Graham Walker says knockout round 7 for Takami. Interesting stuff. One more fight on this card. Katsuma Akitsugi versus Jose Miguel Calderon Cervantes, 14-0-0. Akitsugi, 14-3-0 Cervantes. Let's go to the boys. Was unanimous decision Akitsugi, as does Spit Bucket Podcast, as does Sweet Pugilism, as does Jabit Boxing. All 4 in a row, unanimous decision. Knockout round 6 for Akitsugi, says Max Calandrillo. He can see that. However, Lee Mack, he can see a majority decision for Akitsugi. And Graham Walker going right against the grain. Knockout round 9 for Cervantes. That could pull him out of the trouble there, should that result come in. Let's go to the next fight. Sukhdeep Singh Bhatti versus Craig O'Brien. Super welterweight affair over 10 rounds. 21-0 Bhatti versus 15-3-0 O'Brien. He thinks it's unanimous decision for Bhatti. Once again, Spit Bucket goes against him. Unanimous decision for O'Brien. Sweet Pugilism, Jabit Boxing, Max Calandrillo, and Lee Mack all say unanimous decision for Bhatti. Graham Walker agrees with Spit Bucket. Unanimous decision for O'Brien. So the Irishman has a couple of fans there. Moving on to the next fight on this same undercard. Hard Rock Casino in Ottawa on Saturday night. 6-1-0 Sarah Bailey. 12-10-0 Vivaldi. 10 rounds. I can tell you now, it's unanimous across the board, apart from one. Was Spit Bucket, Sweet Pugilism, Jabit Boxing, Max Calandrillo, all see unanimous decision for Bailey. Lee Mack says split decision for Bailey. The Bolivian will get one judge on their side. Graham Walker says unanimous decision for Bailey. Let's move on as we come back to Britain. And it's the biggest heavyweight fight of the weekend. Tyson Fury, Aslanbek Makhmudov. United Kingdom versus Russia, 12 rounds. 34-2-1 Fury, 21-2-0 Makhmudov. It's all unanimous once again. Was knockout round 7 Fury. Spit Bucket, knockout round 9 Fury. As does Sweet Pugilism, same round, knockout round 9. Max Calendrillo. Oh, sorry. Jabber Boxing says unanimous decision, Fury. Max Calendrillo says knockout round 6, Fury. Lee Mack says knockout round 8, Fury. And Graham Walker says knockout round 9. I actually think Makhmedov could win that. I don't think Fury's back to his best. Never mind. Moving on. British heavyweight title fight. Jamie TKV versus Richard Riakfor. 9-2-0 versus 19-1-0. Similar heights. Who's going to do it? Knockout round 8 says was for Riakfor. Knockout round 6 for Spit Bucket for Riakfor. TKV unanimous decision says Sweet Pugilism. Knockout round 5 says Jabby Boxing, Riakfor. Knockout round 4 says Max Calendrillo for Riakfor. Knockout round 5, Riakfor says Lee Mack. And knockout round 7 says Graham Walker for Richard Riakfor. Only one fan for TKV. Moving on to probably one of the world's finest boxers and superstar that is known as Conor Benn. The people's champion, the people's favourite. Conor Benn is back. 9-2 sorry. 24-1-0 Conor Benn. 33-0 Regis Prograis. Going up again in weight. Obviously, he wants this big fight. Wants that big money. Knockout round 4 was Conor Benn. Knockout round 7, Conor Benn says Spit Bucket. Knockout round 6 says Sweet Pugilism, Conor Benn. Knockout round 10 says Jabby Boxing, Conor Benn. Unanimous decision, Conor Benn says Max Calendrillo. Knockout round 5, Conor Benn, Lee Mack. Knockout round 7, Graham Walker. Again for Conor Benn. Love him or hate him, you know he's got to do the business. Moving on. Another heavyweight title fight, another heavyweight fight over 10 rounds. Justice Hooney, Fraser Clark. Hooney back from that defeat of Wardley. Has he recovered? Similarly, has Clark. Let's go. Knockout round 7, Hooney says was. Split decision, Hooney says Spit Bucket. Unanimous decision says Sweet Pugilism, Hooney, as does Jabby Boxing, as does Max Calendrillo. Knockout round 5 for Hooney, says Lee Mack. And knockout round 8 for Graham Walker, Hooney. Moving on. Felix Cash, Liam O'Hare, same undercard, 16-1-0 Cash, 13-2-0 O'Hare. 8 round middleweight affair. Here we go. Cash, knockout round 3, says was. Knockout round 5, Cash, says Spit Bucket. Knockout round 4, Cash, says Sweet Pugilism. Unanimous decision for Cash, says Jabby Boxing. Knockout round 2 for Max Calendrillo for Cash. Knockout round 6, Lee Mack for Cash. And knockout round 7 for Cash for Graham Walker. Felix Cash has got a lot on his plate this weekend. A lot of expectation. Moving on to the final fight of Fight Week 11. And it's Brandon Adams versus Kierman Agyako. USA versus Ireland. Eliminator super welterweight affair over 12 rounds. 26-4-0 Adams against 18-0 Agyako. But has he got the levels to win this? No, says was. Unanimous decision Adams. The Spit Bucket podcast has gone against his countrymen and says split decision for Agyako. We can go back to Sweet Pugilism says unanimous decision for Adams. We have Jabby Boxing who says knockout round 8 for Agyako. Incredible. We have Max Calendrillo says majority decision for Adams. Lee Mack says unanimous decision Adams. And Graham Walker rounds it off with a majority decision for Agyako. And there you have it. The boys have made their predictions for Fight Week 11. There's 4 weeks to go after this week. Who will be going up to League One, where fantastic prizes await. And next season there might be a surprise change. We will soon find out. Thank you for joining us here at Corner Boxing's Expedition League Time. I'm Mr. Neutral. This show is sponsored by EasyStories.com and BoxingFightZone.com for all your storage and boxing merchandise needs. Thanks very much for coming through. We will see you all next week for Fight Week 12. We wish the boys all the luck and see who comes out on top. Till then, goodbye. Thank you.
Step in the ring, no fear, all bite, hands up high. We train for this fight, bell gon' ring, it's war on sight. This is boxing life, this is fight night. Sweat on the floor, we grind, we climb. Every bruise on the body means we're on